Hi, you guys. Today we're going to be reviewing uh, this affirmation called The Magic Purse by Florence Scovel, which appeared in one of her books called The Secret Door to Success. The Secret Door to Success appears to be in the public domain, enabling folks to share and use experts more freely through its always good to double check for any specific edition rights for new frameworks and so on. The Magic Purse affirmation goes like this, and it comes from the book The Secret Door to Success, written by Florence Scovel. Here's the affirmation, okay? And it goes like this. I have the magic purse of the spirit. It can never be depleted. As soon as money goes out, immediately money comes in. Under grace in perfect ways. Okay, so this affirmation, let's dive in. Let's review it because, oh my gosh, let me tell you, everything that happened to me when I was saying this affirmation every single night and I was listening to it absolutely every single night on my headphones, I would just fall asleep to this affirmation playing because I wanted to saturate my subconscious mind and bring in more money. Specifically, I was trying to bring in like $25,000 because at the time I really wanted to basically take care of some situations that I had going on. But anyways, what happened? What happened when I started to say this affirmation? So I experienced a situation where I was very miserable at work, honestly. And I would get home and it was just a very miserable situation also there. And then I would basically experience my car was just breaking down. I think I was literally running around affecting absolutely everything in my environment because I was just truly so miserable. Um, and nobody was going to basically save me from this. And there was nobody kind really in my reality that was gonna like actually, do anything nice for me or anything to like help me, right? And I also have to, tell you that I came from a very volatile um childhood where I really was I wouldn't say I was the golden child. It was a very strange dynamic because my uncle was a gangster, and so he was the scapegoat until he went and moved to another country. And then I went from golden child to scapegoat. And then from scapegoat to being this like ignored and neglected child that basically I had one aunt, or maybe I don't know what she was to me, but this lady, she absolutely hated the children and anybody related to her sister, and we were those kids basically. And because of it, she was such a strong force in brainwashing absolutely everybody in the family. She was Mormon, and she was absolutely like the most horrible human being I've ever and will ever meet in my life. And she still is like watching and caregiving over children, which is like the craziest part to me. She's somewhere in Turlock or somewhere in like Modesto area, probably still caregiving for children and acting like she's a saint when really she's just a very very convoluted person who truly got off on like the suffering she inflicted, how she could triangulate people against children, and she made my life a living hell. And eventually I went into the foster care system because she would get people so angry against us kids, and not just me, her own grandkids experienced this, and she was a like horrible human being. And I remember my cousins having like cracked teeth, like they had been severely they had experienced some severe things in their life. So I think that because of that, I just don't like, it's very hard for me, even now that I'm a grown person, to trust people. One, because look at like the Mormon church was literally the villain of my story. They never even came to help me once I went into the foster care system. Who knows what that woman said about me, or what she made up about me, or what she convinced them of. Because I remember she told people that I had like a boyfriend and stuff like that. I had never had a boyfriend in my life because I was not even allowed to like even step outside. So come on now. So it was just very, very convoluted experience. So because of that, it's just very hard, I think, for me sometimes to even manifest like kindness, like people being kind to me. So I just was in a job where people were very unkind to me, and I was just experiencing and reliving a lot of this like judgment and hatred, and a lot of this like um aggression, microaggression, passive aggressiveness. And I was in a position of service, and people were just absolutely um crazy. And I find it so interesting that during that time, it's like I could go driving through the streets, and I would look into the faces of the cars, and I knew exactly what every person ordered, what was their favorite thing, what they did and didn't like, and they somehow didn't even know me. Right. So this was very interesting experience for me, but it was exactly like my childhood, where I knew people but they didn't know me. And for that reason, I was just kind of like, um, I guess, reliving this trauma, this experience. And so I just went on and kept like working and trying to make ends meet. And the craziest part was I started saying this affirmation. And so that's why I'm here to give you the review about this affirmation, because I would say this affirmation, and literally, I kid you not, that my car would just break down and break down and break down, and I would fix it. And it was an electric car, so I had to take it to the dealership, and the dealership was terrible and scammy. And I just was like, when will I catch a break? And I just kept saying this affirmation, and it just seemed almost like the more I said the affirmation, the worse everything seemed to get. And it was like, yeah, like I just kept going back to work, and um working and working and working and working, and paying off like this debt and that debt. And I was also basically in a custody battle, and I was like $26,000 in debt, and my car would do this, and the dealership would take me for my money. And I just kept like holding on to this affirmation for dear life. And basically, uh, I would pray and go to church and all this stuff, and nobody in church even, like, they weren't really that personable, but they were always trying to like hug me and touch me, which was like really big turn off for me. I don't like being touched. I don't know if, like, I just don't. I don't. I'm like, please don't touch me. Stay that hell away from me. And and I just don't associate touch with like kindness either. So for me, it was like I was being traumatized even at the church. you know, um and so I would go to church and I would try to pray and like try to be this good human being. And then I would come home crying because people at work were just so mean to me. And I got to a point where I was like, I don't even know. Like, is this working? And I would just keep saying this affirmation. And then one day I got into a car accident, and the car went away. The car problem went away. It just got taken away, basically. The car was totaled. And somehow, in some way, even though I got thrown into oncoming traffic, I was somehow okay. And my son was in the car with me, and he was somehow okay. And um, I basically was extremely tired. One of the reasons I was in that car accident was that I was extremely tired. I seen the car coming and I couldn't even react. I didn't even have time, reflex to react. I was driving so tired at that point because I was just working myself to death. I literally working myself to death, and that was the message of that experience. And um, I ended up basically the car went away, and I ended up getting basically money to get another car, and I was able to get like a little used car, and this time I bought something that wasn't electric because I was like, I'm not reliving that nightmare again, where you can only take that car to a dealership because nobody else will work on it or wants to work on it, um, because they don't have the credentials or they're just too scared to work on that kind of car. So I basically ended up um, in this experience where I was rid of my debt, rid of the car that was apparently my problem. And I was rid of um, this car that was my problem. And then at the same time, during that time, because that happened, and I was traveling and traveling so much to go see family, I ended up deciding and talking to my family, and I was like, we cannot be seeing each other like this anymore. So I I ended up seeing them only on the holidays, and that actually changed the way that things were for me. Um, in the sense that I just didn't have that um I don't know, that demand or that situation where I had to go back and forth and be working and feeling like I was gonna, die on the road. And then I got a car that was not electric, and I basically didn't experience problems anymore like before. It was so crazy. So would you say this affirmation after everything I just told you? The answer is probably no, right? Because look at everything that I had to go through. And in the end, yeah, the problems got solved, but they were solved in such an intense way, really. They were solved in such an intense way. And this is the strangest part, is that the car accident that I was in, the exact way that that car accident happened to me was the exact same way that the car accident happened to me when I was a kid. I had a car accident. I was in a white car, um, and the person was making a left turn, and we got thrown actually into a pole, but this time I got thrown into oncoming traffic, and so it was very very strange. And then that last time when I was a kid, the ambulance took us to I think it took us home actually. They just like they gave us like a ride home. And this time the cop actually I was gonna walk to the nearest to like the nearest location, and I was out in like the middle of nowhere. I was going through like Jackson. I don't even know where I was, honestly. And that's the other thing. I have no recollection of having made the decision to turn on that street, because when they came, they were like, you're on this street, and I'm like, I argued with them. I don't know if I hit my head. I still don't know if I hit my head. I did have like blood on my head, but somehow they said I was okay and nothing happened to me. But they were like, no, you're fine. So I'm like, okay, I guess I'm fine. I'm gonna trust you right now since I'm disoriented and don't know what's going on. But seriously. So what ended up happening was that the the cop was like, "No, I'll give you a ride." And then the ride from there to the restaurant he was supposed to drive me to turned into, I'll just take you home. And he took me home. He literally took me home. And I was like, what are the odds that I'm going to experience this, like, reliving of this twice in my life? It was very strange. It was very strange. And I felt almost like it was kind of like a reset or some kind of type of strange situation. And I was like, I guess my program or whatever the heck life is working. And I was like, I guess I ran this program or entered my own code into this matrix reality, whatever you want to call it. Uh, I have the magic purse of the spirit. It can never be depleted, as money goes out immediately when it comes in. And I was like, would I say this again? Honestly, I've been so scared to even say or try to go on this. I do these things where I'll be like, I'm gonna pray the rosary for 40 days and and 40 nights. And I take these things, these challenges I give to myself very seriously. And then I took this one very seriously. And would I do it again? Honestly, no. No. I am terrified of this affirmation, honestly. So I'm going to rate this one proceed with caution and 1 star, because even though things got solved, I would not do this affirmation again. I would not do this. I was terrified after that car accident. I was like, no way, no way. I do not want to repeat of that. In fact, while all of this was happening, I was really wondering if I was going to even, like, bounce back. You know what I'm saying? From financially, physically, mentally, emotionally. I even went through a time when there, like, I had my car and I was literally driving around taking trips on the what do you call it? The lift or whatever, because I was so scared. I was so scared. I'm like, I don't want to go anywhere. I'm scared now. But then I got over it. But seriously, seriously, I'm not kidding. This affirmation, I'm scared of this affirmation for my life. I'm serious. So that's my review about this affirmation. This affirmation is a proceed with caution. It can be a 1 or it can be a 5. It just depends on you. But proceed with caution. Anyways, thank you so much for watching and take care of yourselves.